Call the Stokes County Board of Commissioners meeting July 13th at 6:02 to order. I'll ask Commissioner Woods to do the invocation. Please stand.
Precious Heavenly Father, thank you for the rain. Thank you for giving us a safe trip here. Help us get through this meeting. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get approval of the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that moves us down to public comments.
Can I make a comment before we start? I know there are a lot of folks here that want to talk about a whole bunch of different things. And one big thing that's on a lot of people's mind, two big things, data center and I think the proposed moratorium. We have two different opportunities for people to speak tonight. One is public comment and the other is the public hearing. And I just want to remind everybody that the public hearing is about the 4 text amendments that have been proposed for our zoning ordinance, all right? So if you signed up for the public hearing and you want to talk about the data center project or proposed project or a moratorium, that's not the time to talk about it. You need to be talking about it during the public comment period, which is what we're about to start.
Each speaker shall be allowed 4 minutes for public comments with the option to yield time to another speaker or add an optional minute depending on the number of speakers who have signed up while abiding by the 30-minute total time limit. All speakers shall maintain good decorum and show respect and good manners. Vulgar language, profanity, inappropriate gestures, insults, personal attacks, accusations, and inflammatory language is prohibited. The chairman of the board shall enforce these rules, and anyone not complying with these rules shall not be allowed to continue. At their discretion, members of the board may address items from the public comment portion of the meeting during the commissioner comment period. I also ask that when you step up to the podium, please state your name and your address for the record. First up, I have Tim Mabe.
Is the microphone on?
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Tim Mabe. I live on Old Town Road in Walnut Cove, North Carolina. The zoning board is concerned about the welfare of all citizens of Stokes County. Board asked for a 6-month moratorium, and I hope to convince you of its need. If connected, a hyperscale data center will consume as much energy as Blues Creek Steam Station can generate. It will be difficult for Blues to increase power with SMRs. SMRs have wasted heat and therefore need a heat sink. Blues Lake is already too hot. It cannot be a heat sink. Can't get more power from Charlotte. They just shut down the old Allen coal-fired plant. No reserves for a hyperscale data center. A mega data center is never going to be connected to the grid in Walnut Cove and will be its own primary power source for 10 to 15 years. I hope to have Mr. Caulfield talking right after me, but it didn't work out that way. But I believe he gave you some handouts. I can't find a county in North Carolina where a hyperscale data center is its own primary power source. This makes Stokes County's situation far more complicated than any of the 29 counties that have asked for a moratorium. Tonight, we need to think about 2 things. Zoning for a hyperscale data center and zoning for a 2,000 megawatt power source. Let me talk to you about this power source. Hoover Dam is 2,080 megawatts. These data centers use the power of Hoover Dam, which is 3 million horsepower. Now let me break that down for you. A semi-transfer truck is about 500 horsepower. So that means on 1,200 acres, you're going to have 6,000 semi-trucks to generate the horsepower that this hyperscale data center wants to use. Easier to have a set of rules for a hyperscale data center and a set of rules for a power source. The two do not need to be connected. Rules for one of the largest data centers in the world and rules for a power source that's the size of Hoover Dam are very complicated. On this scale, you do not say, here, developer, do anything you want, we'll hope for the best. It's just too big. There are experts in Stokes County on noise, pollution, and power generation. Talk to them. Don't approve a mega data center in a few weeks. I'm sure there'll be a state or U.S. politician that will sign a piece of paper saying this power generation doesn't need any regulation, that the pollution is all imaginary. But there's a problem. That problem is a 5-year-old kid's lungs that is too close to the mega data center. If it's dangerous to breathe because the child's home is near a self-powered data center, I don't care what a politician says to try to spin it. Do the moral thing and protect that 5-year-old. Be truthful to yourself and say, today I don't know enough about the mega data center or a power source the size of Hoover Dam to vote. I need time with independent experts I can trust.
Angie Gamble.
Not want this back. Hi, Angie Gamble, 1025 Brookridge Drive, Walnut Cove. I don't usually write, can y'all hear me? Because I'm like really short. I don't usually write stuff down, but this is so important, I did. And I come to y'all tonight not with facts and statistics, that's just not me. That's for these others out here that know more than I do. I come before y'all tonight with love for my town, well, our town, Walnut Cove. Our town is rural and peaceful. It's quiet, the air is pure, and the water is clean. My children grew up playing in the creek in the woods behind our house. We would pick blackberries, wild blackberries, straight from the vine, and they would eat them straight from the vine, even though I said to wait. We would watch from our window and our back deck the wildlife, the deer, the rabbits, little raccoons come in our yard to eat, play, run in the woods. My kids look back and said that their childhood was idyllic. I want these things for my grandchildren. I want them to grow up in a small town. Clean air, clean water, wildlife, and blackberries straight from the vine. If this data center comes, that won't happen. Noise, pollution, smoke, and odors, massive water usage. The data center will produce a lot of heat. Those blackberries, they will wither on the vine, if the vine lives at all. The creek, it'll either dry up or it'll be too dirty for the children to play in. The wildlife, it'll die slowly. We'll take away their home and their food source. We are supposed to be stewards of God's earth. How is this taking care of his land? Drew Nations has never done a project of this magnitude. This is his experiment. We don't want to be his guinea pig, y'all. I beg you, if nothing else, one, don't do this thing. But if you are unsure, at least uphold the moratorium suggested by your planning board. Slow down. This is all going way too fast. And Ms. Cox, I direct this at you. I know the last time you voted yes, and you were so conflicted. We watched you cry. You said that you wanted to vote yes for your grandchildren's future. I understand that. But now I'm speaking to you as mother to mother, and grandmother to future grandmother. Please, please vote no for the future of all the children in Walnut Cove. It's not too late to change your mind. It's not. Please vote for their health and well-being. Let them play in the creek and the woods and pick blackberries straight from the vine. Let them watch the deer romp and run and play. Once this thing is built, we can't go back. Once it'll be a wasteland that it was. We can always find some other way to make money. We can't as easily erase waste, destruction, and pollution. Don't make these children compete with a data center. Let them have an idyllic childhood too. They are more important than any AI that has ever been sent or ever will be sent. Perfect timing. Thank you.
Jason Duncan.
Good afternoon. I'm Jason Duncan from Pine Hall. I asked you to remember when you make these changes for whatever it accommodates, that you will learn something. That once the toothpaste is out of the tube, you can't put it back in. A data center could appear beside your home or your neighborhood if you make the wrong decision. Once you know, you know. What about having a bond that will cover, I haven't heard it mentioned, that will cover our losses when they go bankrupt or when the AI disappears? Who's going to get all these lithium batteries cleaned up? I promise you, they will liquidate and file bankruptcy before they'll do the cleaning up. And tech is changing very fast. Once you know, you know. On July the 2nd, North Carolina General Assembly, as you know, House Bill 56. Under North Carolina's normal process, sales tax revenue is shared by local governments to help pay for essential services. But this provision keeps tax proceeds from electricity used by data centers at the state level. Communities and municipalities that once expected to support these facilities through their fire protection, planning, inspections, and other infrastructure, roads, etc., yet the additional tax revenue generated from the electricity of the data centers will go back to the state now. I'll read that again. Rather than falling back to the normal distribution process to help offset Stokes County's cost. Once you know, you know. I was made aware about 2 weeks ago that when Duke Power came to Stokes County 50 years ago, that they promised that they would generate $17 million in revenue a year. 50 years of 17 million, this was a government official that told me this. 50 years of $17 million, we've been in pretty good shape. From what I understand, the most they've generated is $7 million. What they have done is created a mess over there. They polluted the air with their smokestacks, and if you lived over there, that acid would fall on your car, those little things, and eat the paint off, but it also caused a higher degree of cancer. And then they decided they'd put in the scrubbers. So they took that and dumped it in a landfill beside the place, and it got into the water and created more problems. I do hope and pray that if they put a nuclear power plant over there, they have a little bit more sense than they did with the coal-fired plant. Once you know, you know. I'm not sure what you're going to do tonight, but you've heard from the public how it affects life. So your choice might be to save the community or destroy the community. How do you want to be remembered? Once you know, you know. Gandhi once said, the future depends on what you do today. Thank you.
Ann Harvey David.
Good evening. Okay, y'all can hear me better. I know it's louder back there than it is up here, apparently. Good evening. I'm Ann Harvey David with Southern Coalition for Social Justice, and I represent a number of your constituents who are concerned about both the immediate and long-term implications of the proposed amendments that you'll be considering this evening. These amendments are indistinguishable from the conversation about the moratorium, so I respectfully ask that my comments and others on these subjects be incorporated into the record for the public hearing. This community that you represent here in Stokes County has shown up strong time and time again since last November to ask you to proceed with greater caution when it comes to data center development in Stokes County. We ask that you listen to them. By now, you have a vast record before you, including comments from community members, locals with specialized expertise, detailed documentation with extensive citations from SCLC and SCSJ, and a passionate and decisive recommendation from your own Stokes County Planning Board, supporting a conclusion that more time, research, and expertise is needed to craft appropriate standards to guide data center development in Stokes County. On the other side, you have a set of non-data center specific M2 performance standards that give the impression of having been hurried to completion for an artificial deadline. These standards have undergone constant revisions from one meeting to the next, with last-minute changes and additions up to 72 hours before consideration by the Planning Board, also arguably invalidating your July 2nd public notice. It's unclear what the source for these documents and proposals in them are, but whatever their origin, they lack reference to the latest evolving data center technology and fail to consider impacts to local residents and county resources and infrastructure. The overall impression is of a rush job driven by external pressures attempting to force the will of outsider tech industry and developer interests onto the residents of this county. We're simply asking this commission to listen instead to their constituents, the residents of this extraordinary county, and impose a temporary moratorium on data center development to give the county time to develop meaningful standards with deliberation and community involvement based on the best available information learned from both the latest technology and using lessons from other communities impacted by hyperscale data centers. Unfortunately, for example, one hard-learned lesson that other communities are facing is that these data centers and their generators can and do result in catastrophic fires. Yet Amendment P contains no provision for the safety standards or emergencies, and any fires in Stokes County will unfortunately likely have to be handled by the county's largely or all volunteer fire departments. When this issue was first before this commission in January, you had only a developer's tantalizing pie-in-the-sky promises to guide your decision-making. But we've all learned a lot in 6 months, hopefully, and you now have a wealth of information to support the need for caution. A brief pause is the only reasonable course of action in the face of such an immense new technology that will profoundly disrupt the land and communities of this county. Rushing forward with these amendments to accommodate a particular project and landowner makes no sense in light of the information you now have before you. And if this is not to accommodate a particular project and landowner, then there's certainly no hurry. I'll briefly address the argument in the staff report that these amendments protect Stokes more than any moratorium. They do not. There is currently no use designation that would accommodate a hyperscale data center. A data center is not a warehouse. A data center moratorium also can't be enacted simultaneously with an amendment that allows data centers for the first time. That makes no sense. These standards do not protect Stokes County, but instead declare the whole county open for data center development from Danbury to King to Walnut Cove. Meanwhile, many of your neighbors are passing moratoriums. Just last week, Davie County unanimously passed a 1-year moratorium. Surrey County and the town of Mandan and Rockingham also have moratoriums on the books. All in all, 38 North Carolina jurisdictions have enacted data center moratoriums. We ask that you join them and deny the amendments on your docket this evening. Thank you.
Sarajit Ananda.
Good evening. My name is Sadajat Ananda, and I live at 1060 Tyler Road, Walnut Cove. And I have been a resident of Stokes County for over 20 years. We moved here because we wanted a rural lifestyle. Every morning, I open the back door and call my resident cardinal, Big Red, to come and have some sunflower seeds. He knows his name and returns several times a day for treats. We also have Dohi, a white squirrel that we hand feed. And right now, a pair of mourning doves are feeding their young in a nest in a basket on my deck. This is my dream life, communing with nature, growing my own food, and being surrounded by a quiet, peaceful setting. I live in the country partly because I am sound, vibration, and light sensitive. Living in a city with its constant hum, whether heard or not, and the nighttime glow slowly unravels my nerves, causing anxiety, anger outbursts, and sleeplessness. Stokes County offers me a healthy environment in which to live. Our property is located within the 1 mile zone of the proposed data center. Now I'm looking at the possibility of being inundated with up to 75 decibels of noise, continuously, day and night, 365 days a year. It will be intolerable and possibly my undoing. I've been told I won't hear it, but I hear the train that passes through Walnut Cove 3 miles away. I frequently hear the heavy equipment at a mulch company located a mile away. And you think I won't hear turbines that are located less than a mile from my home? There are many studies that show that people living in areas where they never get a moment's true silence get sick more and often end up with debilitating diseases. Do you want a data center in your backyard? I can't imagine the animals staying. What bird wants to compete with 75 decibels when singing for a mate? So no more Big Red or mourning doves. What squirrel wants its call of morning that the hawks are drowned out? So no more Dohi. I'm not only concerned about my lifestyle being destroyed, my property value plummeting, my water and air being polluted, but I'm extremely concerned about Walnut Cove Elementary also being in the 1 mile zone. Children who will be trapped 6 to 8 hours, 5 days a week without a moment's peace and quiet, as well as the possible added pollution. They may not always hear the sound, but often the vibration is felt even if they are not aware of it. We don't have an understanding of what this might cause further down the road for them, as well as the possible behavioral and emotional problems it might create right now. Why do we want to use our children as guinea pigs, subjecting them to something we don't understand the long-term effects of? By rushing to place a data center where most people don't want it, and without adequate understanding of the negative effects it will probably create, not taking the time to make sure the right regulations are in place to protect the people, not the business, is setting the county up for lawsuits, both now and in the future when the results are known. Your responsibility is to your constituents, not big money interests that are choosing small counties, that don't have in place regulations they don't want to have to comply with. They are trying to railroad you into making a fast and costly decision, both for the county and for the people living here. If Stokes County is not prepared to sign a legally binding document with every citizen of Stokes County, now and in the future, that they will pay all medical costs for any disease process that is found to be linked to the data center output, pay the owners of property for the difference in their property value from what a comparable house outside the impact zone would cost, drilling new wells for us if the water gets contaminated, even by an accident at the center, then I ask you to vote no on the Pros Center, and at the very least, set a moratorium so that regulations can be put in place that guarantee every citizen in Stokes County is safe, happy, healthy, and that their lives will not be negatively impacted by the data center. Without this, we could see Walnut Cove die, and the lives of those living in the impact area shortened. Thank you for your time and attention.
Sarvasri Ananda.
My name is Sarvasri Ananda, and I live at 1060 Tyler Road. As we debate data centers, we miss out on huge opportunities. We have the opportunity to innovate in 3 industries that will do us more good than a data center ever could. Let's examine them. First, wellness centers to cure and prevent disease. AI is being promoted as a savior, able to create new drugs to cure disease. This is an absolute lie. Cancer is not caused by a deficiency of exotic drugs. It's caused by poor nutrition, toxic chemicals, and parasites. Worse still, when cures are found, they're ignored and suppressed. Case in point, Joe Tippins cured himself of lung cancer using ivermectin and fenbendazole, a parasite treatment. The medical system spent over $1 million on treatments that failed him miserably. The system is out to make money, not cure people. Everybody cured is lost profit. Watch the video. I gave it to you. We desperately need wellness centers to teach natural health care based, high density nutrition, low toxicity, and natural therapies to restore health. We currently have one of the worst health records in the country. Second opportunity, regenerative, nutrient-dense agriculture. I tested all the food we bought, both conventional and organic. It was crazy. Our food has extremely low nutrition because of how it's grown. Both systems learned that dumping nitrogen or manure on crops made them grow rapidly. Force-fed crops with excess NPK don't create high nutrition because they're actually starved of minerals. When force-fed, roots don't spread out to grab what little nutrition there is. They don't produce phytonutrients that prevent cancer and disease. Our agriculture is killing us. This is a great innovation opportunity. We regenerate soil doing three things: mulch to suppress weeds, prevent overheating, and retain moisture. Stop tilling. Stop destroying good bacteria and mycelium that feed plants. Supply minerals to fend off pests and disease naturally. In 2 to 3 years, the soil will provide super nutrition. Third opportunity, super insulated, super affordable, non-toxic housing, so young families can own homes instead of paying nearly 50% of their income on rent. Young adults are often forced to live back with their parents because they can't afford housing. It's unaffordable because we're building with 200-year-old technology. ACC, aerated autoclaved cement, is super insulating and used to build up to 60% of housing in Europe and other countries. Here, it's effectively banned. Watch the video that I gave you. Regulatory capture is the real cause of our demise. Look it up. It's the reason we don't have life-saving, life-enhancing technologies. Industries like medical, chemical, wood products, and cement spend millions lobbying for legislation that favor their products. This puts toxic chemicals in our homes and workplaces, foods and agriculture that poison us and the environment. Example, atrazine, a cancer-causing pesticide, banned in Europe over 20 years ago. There are thousands more like this, poisoning our water, food, land, homes, and workplaces. We must stop regulatory capture if we are to survive, and encourage the best of new technologies and eliminate the worst. We have no choice. Stokes County can be a leader. This will make us healthier and wealthier than any data center ever could.
Thank you.
Bertrand Bonnick.
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Commissioners, and all those who work with the county. Chicken Little said the sky is falling, but I don't believe it. The sky is not falling because what the Board of Commissioners and the city managers and attorney have in common with all the people who are here is that they want what is best for Stokes County. So I'm at 1218 North Main Street, and I represent the Walnut Cove Dental Associates. It's a small business that provides 14 to 16 jobs and benefits to this county. And to think that a data center would probably provide 30 or 40, it just blows my mind. So we need to think about that also. Did you know that the laws of North Carolina require that we have a suction system that collects mercury? Not that we store in the practice, but from the old silver fillings that we drill out. And in our closed system loop, it brings it to a special container that has to be properly disposed of. How is the Board of Commissioners going to make sure that the heavy metal waste does not contaminate air or water? We need time. We need time, and that's why resolution is good. Now, stress is a common factor in all disease process. As of 2023, the life expectancy at birth in the United States for males is 75.8, and for females it's 81.1. Total for the population is 78.4, and it's been showing increase. The average lifespan of a person born in Stokes County this year, according to the North Carolina State Center for Health Statistics, in conjunction with the CDC, is 73.7. That's 4.7 years below the national average. And the main cause of early death in Stokes County are as follows: heart disease, cancer, accident, stroke, chronic lower respiratory, Alzheimer's, diabetes, kidney, and liver disease. I can attest to you, we do treat a lot of patients, and we see that. Can you imagine if we had an increase, let's say in breast cancer or in prostate cancer? Can you imagine how much that would cost? Can you imagine the men here in Stokes County having to deal with erectile dysfunction? Why did I bring them up? Because those who take the blue pills and don't say anything about it are dangerous. It's dangerous for them to have a heart attack. When they have a heart attack, we can't use nitroglycerin to help them. Those are some of the examples, and I've run into them before. These are some of the examples that we will have to deal with. So we need more time. And for that reason, I think we should have a moratorium. Some of the options you have from your rules and procedure. There are ways to defer consideration, and there's ways to have a referendum so everybody in the county could vote about it. But in thinking about this decision, I'd like for you to think about one thing. When is the best time to have a prenuptial agreement? When your marriage partner, when you found out that your marriage partner in 5 years will be clear to spend 20 to 40 million. How much is this county worth? Is it worth 20, 40 million, 500 million? How much do we have in reserve in case there are lawsuits that have to do with this? So the question is, when do you want to have your prenuptial agreement? Before or after you decide to get married? So I'm here to speak on behalf of let us go ahead and have a moratorium as suggested by your planning board. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's 30 minutes.
Okay. That's the end of the public comments. We will move to public hearing comments.
We'll do. Yeah.
When you get to discussion.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself.
Yeah, you're all right.
Okay. Right now, we'll move to the commissioner comments. I'll start with Commissioner Chandler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome everybody tonight. Good to see everybody. I hope everybody had a great July 4th last week, celebrating our great country. And please don't remember that because of our country and our Constitution, that's why you're here. And we're listening, and you have the right of opinion, and you have the right to assemble. So please remember that, and I'll save further comments for later. So I'll have Mr. Chair.
Mr. Morrison.
I'd just like to welcome everybody. We appreciate your participation here tonight. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Woods.
I'd like to welcome everybody too, and when you leave tonight, be careful. There was a rattlesnake killed at the entrance, run over of the Reagan building over the weekend, so they are out.
Mr. Cox.
I'd just like to welcome everybody and appreciate your attendance tonight, and I'll reserve my comments for later. Thank you.
Again, reiterate, the other commissioners, welcome. Glad to see everybody here. Great turnout tonight. Thank the good Lord for the rain that we got. And I would like to send our prayers and thoughts to Senator Brown's family tonight. What really stirs me about our country today is I read some comments today that I don't care which political aisle you're on, which side. I think it's sad that no one can send condolences to someone's family that has passed. They have rather rake a bad remark about that person. I just think that sends a bad message for our country today, where we're at right now. But again, thank y'all. Jeff?
I'd just like to comment on one thing. After a year without a state budget, I'd like to congratulate our General Assembly on getting that behind them. We have a state budget now, and it's good to have things back on track. As always, the devil's in the details. We do have one thing I'd like to comment on, and it's kind of the unfunded mandate variety. I think everybody can recall back to the time when President Trump first started in office in his second term, and I think they called the Big Beautiful Bill. There were some funding changes at the federal level in that bill that are now trickling down to us. And I'd like to comment on one of those, and that's the SNAP program. Historically, the SNAP program was a 50-50 cost share between the federal government and the states. And for reasons that I probably will never sort out, here in North Carolina, when they read that, they interpreted it to mean that the state of North Carolina's 50% belonged to the counties. So over the years, we've been bearing the burden for that 50% of the administrative cost of the federal SNAP program. The Big Beautiful Bill passed another 25% down to the states, and we've been waiting to see what the state would do with that, whether they would step up to the plate and accept responsibility for that 20%. Well, they didn't, and so for this year, we expect the bill that we'll have to pay is about $150,000, and that's something not in our budget now, so we're going to have to do a budget amendment to support that. In future years, starting in the following year, that bill is going to be about $210,000. And on top of that, there are some potential penalties. The federal government also in that bill laid out a system of penalties for states that don't meet target levels of error rates. And I'm not going to go into the details of what makes up the error rate, but the target's 6%. A couple of years ago, North Carolina was at 10%. Last year, I think they finished up just over 7%. So things are moving in the right direction. But the framework that our General Assembly put together for paying that bill, if the state of North Carolina as a whole doesn't get down below that federal target rate of 6%, is they're going to administer across the board all 100 counties bill that's going to be gleaned from our sales tax revenue, and it works out to about 0.75% of our sales tax revenue. And then for the counties that are contributing to the state's problem, they'll have to eat the rest of that on a distributed share basis, based on to what degree they're causing the problem. Here in Stokes County, we're lucky. We have good administration in our Department of Social Services over that program. And historically, our error rate has been at or near 0%. So we're not causing the problem. But the bad news is that even if we don't cause the problem, or continue to not cause the problem, or be part of causing the problem, we will bear a portion of the burden to pay that penalty to the federal government. And so we're going to be watching that pretty closely as this fiscal year unfolds, to see how the state performs. All total, if there is a penalty to pay, depending on the size of the penalty and how badly the state of North Carolina performs overall, that could be equivalent to something like 1 penny or more in our tax rate. So it's a pretty significant bill.
Thank you, Jeff.
Have Mr. Chairman.
You
No, sir.
Okay. That moves us to conflict of interest. Before we moving further, does any board member have a conflict with any item on the agenda for today, or one that could perceive as a conflict of interest? No. Consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approval of the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moves us to the information agenda. Amy.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. I had brought paper copies also for their community health assessment that we do every 4 years. And this year, we were lucky to have 503 surveys completed. And our top 3 priorities I'll go over with you guys. Mental health, substance abuse is the first, chronic illness, healthy eating and exercise, and food insecurity is in there also. We plan to improve access to mental health, collaborate with community partners to reduce stigma, increase education within the community on mental health, substance abuse, increase our education on how to prevent chronic disease, and increase or work with others to increase health education initiatives and promote healthy lifestyles, whether that be walking or in parks and stuff. Basically, that's just the summary of it all. I don't know if y'all want to hear any more, because it's a busy night, I can tell. But do you have any questions on those top 3 priorities or anything else?
I mean, I spent most of my weekend reading this. It's a good report. However, I would like to know if we could get Tammy back at another time. I do have some questions and I do have some comments. And a few things I found, were very interesting, that even though I understand this may not directly be your area, but you're just reporting the statistics and making inferences. So if that would work for you to come back at a
I have another
time,
report.
whatever
Yeah.
Is convenient for you.
I have another report I'll be bringing too. Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to do the same thing. I hadn't had time to go through it all yet, as much as I want to, and I'd like to set up a different time where we can get into some detail discussion.
I'll be bringing our annual report, so I'll just set extra time to go over that.
Everybody agrees with that? Tammy, thank you.
Good report, thank you.
Yeah.
Just reach out to me, Tammy, and we'll get it scheduled.
Moves to the discussion agenda, the planning board recommendation by data center moratorium. Brian Miller, our assistant county manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the July 9th meeting of the planning board, they recommended, instead of making comment or recommendation on amendments N, P, and R, they recommended to the Board of Commissioners to entertain the idea of a moratorium. So I've included in your agenda packet the information, the state statute 160D-107 for moratoria. I expect that you've had time to review that. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on moratoria. We have legal counsel with us here today that's also able to answer questions if you need a legal opinion.
Red.
Is there? I mean, we're not under a rush, are we? I mean, well, I want to make sure that everything is well thought out and we get to ask the questions. But I mean, to my knowledge, at least, I mean, we'll be able to have time, right, to ask questions and to sort this out.
Yeah, we should. We don't even have, well, I mean, we should, when we get something. We don't have anything to look at yet, but when we do, we should have plenty of time. It's not going to be a rush to make a decision.
Right. And that's my only concern. If there's not going to be time to do that, then I would entertain the moratorium if it had to be that way. But I haven't had anybody tell me that this has to be done at a certain time.
I'd like to make a motion to the board that we reject the recommendation of the planning board to do a moratorium on data center development.
Do we get to have comment, or do you just?
No, sir.
No,
No, sir. No, sir.
Let me repeat my motion.
Please.
I'd like to recommend to the board that we reject the planning board's recommendation that we create a moratorium on data center development.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Denied. Motion denied, passes. See, now we move down to the public hearing. That's done.
It's next, yeah.
That's done, correct. All right, now we move to the public hearing, amendments to the Stokes County zoning ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, I fully recognize that I'm not the person that you're here tonight to hear from, so I'm going to keep my remarks very brief. I'll go through each amendment, explain to you why staff believe that they were necessary, and then by all means, love to hear from the public.
Okay.
So Amendment A, after further review, we believe amending 132.3 and only changing 60 days to 30 days would create internal inconsistency within our ordinance. We would ask that Amendment A be excluded from tonight's public hearing. Amendment D, the Planning Board denied Amendment D, stating it was inconsistent with the county's 2035 plan. State Statute 160D requires the governing board shall approve a brief statement describing whether its action is consistent or inconsistent with an adopted comprehensive or land use plan. Additionally, 160D 604D states that a comment by the planning board that a proposed amendment is inconsistent with the comprehensive or land use plan shall not preclude consideration or approval of the proposed amendment by the governing board. Our ordinance, section 132.5 states, prior to approving or denying any application for conditional rezoning, the Board of Commissioners shall adopt a statement that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the county's comprehensive plan as set forth in the zoning ordinance, and that the proposed rezoning is reasonable and in the public interest, thus limiting the ability and authority of the Board of Commissioners, granted by state statute, to approve an amendment when it's inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, but in the best interest of its citizenry. We ask the board approve Amendment D, which replaces the language limiting the ability and authority of the Board of Commissioners to the exact wording of 160D-605, Governing Board Statement, which addresses the two-step consistency and reasonableness statement. Both myself and legal counsel believe it necessary to adopt Amendment D. In the most recent legal action taken against the county, the consistency statement was mentioned 7 times and inconsistency was mentioned 4 times.
Ryan, do you mind if I jump in?
Yeah, by all means.
I think there's some very important language in the statutes there that needs to be highlighted, and Brian read it. Expressly provides that an inconsistency comment shall not preclude a governing board from adopting an amendment. What that means is our current language is not legal. It needs to be fixed.
I agree. So for Amendment N and P, Amendments N and P are similar in nature. Both amendments provide specific performance standards for mining and quarrying and the M2 heavy manufacturing district, which includes the M2 CZ district. These standards replace the vague and standardless delegation language. As deemed necessary by the board. For both amendments N and P, those standards may be found in the adoption ordinance. Currently, Stokes County has no enforceable standards protecting the adjacent property owners. These standards protect the residents more with this change than they are currently protected. Additionally, both quarrying and, if approved, data centers would provide the applicant go through the conditional zoning process, which includes public input, just like the other listed conditional uses contained in the zoning ordinance, like airports, junkyards, brick and pottery yards, chemical manufacturing, etc. This allows the Board of Commissioners to negotiate site-specific performance standards for each individual application. If the applicant and the board fail to reasonably negotiate those standards, the rezoning would not occur. And the last amendment, Amendment R, currently our ordinance does not include a data center category or a definition of a data center. Amendment R makes it clear where data centers should be in relationship to other businesses in our zoning districts. Data centers would only be allowed in the strictest district currently available, M2CZ, which would also allow the Board of Commissioners to negotiate site-specific performance standards for each individual application. If the applicant and the board fail to reasonably negotiate those standards, the rezoning would not occur. Currently, without a specific designation, a developer's attorney may argue that a data center should be allowed in a different, less restrictive district, and without a specific designation in our ordinance, a court may allow that placement. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Board, any questions for Brian? One thing I would like to say on Brian's behalf, I got some phone calls about Brian. Well, there's an interaction with the planning board, and got very high remarks on you. You brought a lot of good information to the table, and I appreciate you doing that job.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It might be a legal question, but are we allowed to say that we don't want a data center in Stokes County? Would we be able to say we don't want that type of?
I think there is a legal risk to saying you don't want a specific type of business. It is less of a legal risk to appropriately regulate that development through a plan, and that can be done through text amendments, through conditional zoning, that kind of thing. So what you don't want to do is discriminate against a specific type of business, because that would subject the county to a lot of legal liability. I think the important thing is to try to get the process done correctly and have everything in its proper sphere, so to speak. Does that help? Okay.
It's legal can be, yeah, that helps.
Yeah, I mean, it's gray. Everything's gray, right? Everything is gray.
That's all.
I'll just add that there is one county that has, and I can't remember the county off the top of my head, that has completely banned data centers specifically. I'm happy to look that up for you and get you the information
I don't have any questions.
Okay, at this time, we'll ask the first speaker to come up.
Can I ask a clarifying question,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Chair? Since you mentioned about Amendment A, is there agreement on the board to have that amendment excluded from tonight's hearing, since the planning board had reviewed about the internal inconsistency? So if I understand correctly, Brian, that's going to be discussed further at a later date? Or, but you just mentioned it could be excluded from tonight, or ask about being excluded from tonight's public hearing. So I'm just asking for my notes for the minutes, how that looks.
Well, staff would recommend it be excluded from the hearing.
Okay. What is the board's?
I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine, yep.
I just wanted to have that.
And at the end, when and if you take action on these items, we just need for you to clarify in the motion that that provision is not being approved.
So for the public hearing for text amendments D, N, P, and R, each speaker will be allowed 4 minutes for comment. We've spoken with the board in order to get as many people that have signed up. We will not have a time limit on this. Just please stick to that 4 minute per speaker allotment. And to reiterate, the public comments need to be about the text amendments. This isn't about a data center. Anything else, this is specifically the text amendments that have been proposed and laid out, as Brian mentioned. So if you are not speaking on that behalf, please abstain, if you will. The first speaker I have is Sherry Smith.
My name is Sherry Smith. I live in Walnut Cove. My reason for signing up was to talk to you guys from a personal standpoint. I know you not just as commissioners. I've had meals with you, talked with you about subjects outside of this. I know your families, and taken care of your animals for 20 years. But I have to tell you guys, my reason was to talk to you about a moratorium. And since that's already passed, the next thing I would like to address to you is this. Please put careful consideration into these amendments. They are very impactful. These do not take it lightly, and I don't think you will, and I don't want your jobs. I don't want to have to make decisions for 47,000 people. I understand. I don't come up here tonight with facts and figures for you. You guys can probably give them back to me. You've heard them a million times. And I know that. But I also know that you are representing every person in this county. But in this particular situation, you are really, truly representing the southeastern part of this county. And I reside in that. We just had the 250th anniversary of our country. And I've been in down the genealogy rabbit hole, and I can tell you that I have located ancestors, probably related to a lot of you guys, that fought for that, fought in the Revolutionary War. My family has been here in this county since before it was a county. And I feel that they came here, according to journals I've read, because of the beauty of this county, the peacefulness of this county. And we don't want to let that go. You guys have a lot to consider, I know, but I don't think this is much about a data center as it is about rezoning to M2. And I think this rezoning is what you really, really have to look at closely, because you're going to open, if you're not careful, you'll open Pandora's box that you're not going to get that lid put back on. Jason talked about the toothpaste. Yes, that's true. You can't walk this back. You cannot. So please, I'm asking you, put every amount of time you need to in this to determine that these amendments need to be adopted and that it is in the best interest for everyone in this county, but in particular where we are located. None of you want data centers close to you. I know that. You know, I know the ones of you who are from here. You inherited land just like I did. I know those of you who moved here. You guys moved here. Jeff, Brian, Brad, Rick, you moved here for a reason. And I don't think it was just a job. I think you like Stokes County. So help us keep it that way. You know, my family has worked in Forsyth County and Rockingham County in Patrick County for years. They knew they had to travel outside of the county for work. That's not something new for us that are from here. We understand it. It's okay. It's part of it. We get to come back to the peacefulness here. So I lived in Winston-Salem for 10 years. Trust me, I couldn't wait to get back here. Don't plan to leave again. So don't just take this lightly. Please, I implore you, take all the time you need to get this right. Thank you.
Josh Olofsson. Josh Olofsson.
Hello. Out of respect for the Sara people and their descendants, I would introduce myself in the native Tuvalu language. Mihe Yihe Manata Mahanatan Yanhi Yahweh. My name is Joshua Pennington. I had planned to speak before the vote, but I think I missed that. Indigenous history in this land isn't scarred from this very thing. It's still bleeding from it. 500 years later. For 500 years, many of our leaders were pushed, pressured by someone from somewhere else to give up life and land on behalf of their people. Promised the land would be cared for, promised the people would be treated well. We even got it on paper. And where are now all those promises? We didn't know who we were dealing with, but we trusted those promises. We trusted those signed papers. And while uneasy, we ultimately trusted the pace of it all. Now here it is again, but coming for your land instead of what so many of us once called home, even though our ancestors' bones still rest beneath the very place. The same promises. The land will be managed well, the people will be treated well, and papers ready to be signed. I'm not asking you to look back or consider history. I'm asking you to look at today to see your future and what's become of the first people to live here. How many are left? Where are those papers? Fast-moving water doesn't slow down or stop because you agreed to jump in. It'll keep rushing and it can sweep you away. But in this case, also every person you are elected to lead and represent. Even if you believe that the future here is on the other side of that river, and believe all must cross it or be left behind, isn't it more wise to wait for calmer water? And letting yourselves be rushed, you're forfeiting the power you were elected to and entrusted with. You're here today with another vote, but yet still more knowledge and reason to err on the side of caution than so many before you. I ask you not let that be taken from you, because speaking from generations of lived experience, I can tell you that that's only the beginning. Thank you.
Cindy Olofsson.
She's coming. She's probably switching babies.
Hello. My name is Cindy Olofsson. I live in Glade Valley, North Carolina. I ask you to look out at the people in this room. Look at who's standing before you today. Remember the people who came here in January. These people are not your enemies. They're asking to be represented. We're not all alike. We come from different backgrounds, different races, different income levels, professions, educational experiences, and different political beliefs. Under almost any other circumstance, you could put us all in a room together over another issue, and we'd probably spend the evening passionately disagreeing with each other. In this, we're united. We're standing together because we believe Stokes County is worth protecting. How often do you see such a broad cross-section of your own community speaking with one voice? This is the peace that manifests when people come together in defense of balance and out of love for one another's experience in this world. These are your neighbors. These are the people you were elected to represent. Please don't dismiss what you're seeing here. Don't throw away something this rare and this beautiful. Honor it. Thank you.
Monty Bronham. Brandon.
Tanaki ni temp, ni wendashna ki toksu, eme kariri hiri, homosikihiri. I greeted you in my native language. I am Yi Iswa. I am Catawba, people of the river. I come today to speak to you and plead to you, not on behalf of myself. Our reservation is located outside of Rock Hill, South Carolina, downriver. And that's something that I implore you to think about. Not only does your decisions directly affect the people of this county, it affects everything downstream. I've listened to some of your constituents saying, you know, we don't have a voice. That's why I'm here today. I'm to speak on behalf of those that don't have a voice or can't speak. Specifically, my relatives, Takawe-Osan, all my relations. We're all related. Those relatives that are buried there, the Sherrod, were part of my people. Part of probably some of your people. I've heard several people mention and talking about resources and these type things. Something I want y'all to keep in mind. These things that we so openly call resources or waters or land or our relatives, the animal friends, the forest itself. I just spoke with a gentleman out there talking about the trees. I want to put this to you. Could these lands survive without us being humans? Of course it could. It would thrive. Think about what was written about this country on early contact and actually early explorers, talking about it was a Garden of Eden. It was paradise. Any and everything we wanted was here. The Creator, God, ever how you want to address it, put that here for us. Who are we to take these, not resources, but sources? Because once we take these things away, they can't be replaced. It's not like we can replace these lands. It ain't like we can replace these waters. In everything we take, there's that whole mathematical equation, if you will. In life, us as humans, we're either adding or subtracting. All right? What's your purpose? Well, actually, you know, if you believe in the teachings of both Christianity and also the teachings of the native ways, we're here to add, we're here to give, we're here to serve, we're here to protect. So if we're adding, certainly there's going to be some subtracting too. But if we subtract more than what we're adding, then there's nothing left for us to continue taking. You know, the Creator, God, has provided this land, this earth, for humanity to give and supply Him with His needs. He didn't give us these things to supply us for our greeds. Our greeds, exactly. Capitalism and corporate mechanics are at play. And if you don't think that this county, the people of this county, and you as individuals, the thing about it is, you know, y'all have an opportunity to set a precedent. What kind of precedent are y'all going to set in the decisions that you make? Another thing I would remember too is, you know, when we move, we're supposed to move in a way that we're thinking about future. Is that my time up already? Thing I will leave with all of you. We only have one life walk to live, so let's be sure we do it with good intentions and future generations and thinking about those things. I will. Thank you.
I just wanted to reiterate that our public hearing is for the text amendments that are mentioned above. I understand that a lot of you have comments about the data center specifically. There will be a very large public hearing if that project gets applied for. We do not have an application. This public hearing is for the text amendments. If you are not going to speak directly about the text amendments that have been mentioned, please abstain, just so we can keep everything moving. I promise there will be a much longer public hearing period, should there need to be, about data centers in the broad scope.
Can I ask you a question? Is one of the amendments about zoning?
That would, I mean, referring to any of the text amendments that were on the agenda, which would be D, N, P, and R.
Yes. I know I don't have any much to say about the data center in respect, but I know my name's not on the list, but if you would entertain it, whatever.
Sure. And the next person I have is Timmy Smith.
Hello, I'm Timmy Smith. I live at 1545 Old Town Road. I build renewable natural gas projects across the country. Not data centers, but pretty sizable projects. I support responsible industrial development, and I'm not here to be anti-development. Tonight I'm going to ask you for two things. I'm going to ask you to reconsider that moratorium, and I'm going to share with you why you need it. All right? The moratorium needs to be placed on these large data centers, projects like data centers with that type of zoning, as Sherry mentioned. You need it so we have time to develop the regulations uniquely written for Stokes County and not simply standards that happen to align with industry preferences. Second, vote against the proposed M2 operating standards as written, particularly on the noise provisions. Noise it's not another permit condition. For the families that live beside these facilities, it becomes a 24-hour quality of life issue. Across the country, many jurisdictions evaluate industrial noise relative to existing ambient sound conditions because rural communities are fundamentally different from industrial corridors. A sound level that may be acceptable in an urban setting can completely change the character of a quiet agricultural community like we enjoy. Our regulations should recognize that. During the first Project Delta application and why you need this moratorium, Drew Nation stood at this podium and confidently told us that our sound exposure was already 65 and 70 decibels. I flagged it. I shared it with you. It's in your email. I asked repeatedly for that ambient noise study to be shared, and Drew finally did. This is it. This document would not be acceptable for a high school project, much less a project with a $20 billion price tag tied to it. There's no model numbers, no serial numbers. There's no photo validation. There's no sound characterization. None of that. That's not sound development to me. That's why that moratorium is needed, sir. The document confirmed every suspicion that I had, and it presents me with a couple of items. As I see it, there's either a competency issue or there's an alternate motive. Neither of those give me confidence, and it should not earn your endorsement. Last week, Drew shared that a second ambient noise study had been completed. I wonder why. If that new study is now the basis for his confidence, then I believe this board should insist on reviewing it before adopting boilerplate operating standards. If the current standards are approved first, you've given away your strongest tools for leveraging future projects. I'm not standing here tonight to stand in opposition of development. I'm here for it responsibly. It's about making Stokes County a better place and writing policy that reflects the character of our county and not just making it another generic industrial standard. You have one opportunity to get these rules right. Please slow this process down, adopt a moratorium while these regulations can be fully studied, require technically sound supporting data, and build standards that provide a clear path for development while we're protecting rural communities so that Stokes County is worth a place called home. Thank you.
Sandra Robinson.
I'm Sandra Robinson, and I live on Vicky Lane in King. I would like to thank Brad Chandler and Wayne Barneycastle for your votes and listening to your constituents on January 12th, 2026. Practically no one visits or moves to or will visit or will move to Stokes County because we may build hyperscale data centers. Why does anyone want to visit or move to Stokes County? Probably for the same reason the 5 of you live in this county. It's a rural, naturally beautiful county with mountains, streams, and a Dan River. A river I'm sure many in this room have fished in, swam in, kayaked on, or canoed on. This land holds parks and miles of hiking trails. It also holds ancestors of those who do not look like me or you, and the artifacts and bodies that remind and teach us of their existence and the lives they lived. This land holds those memories, especially 1,800 acres near Walnut Cove. In addition to the above, reasons people move to or visit Stokes County are for the quiet ambient noise levels in this residential agricultural areas of the county. Ambient means the conditions by which one is surrounded. In Stokes County, we are surrounded by land zoned residential agricultural, and we are blessed with parks, all of which have continuous 24/7, 365 noise levels based on my backyard that are in the 30 or 40 decibel range, punctuated by infrequent train whistles, dog barks, coyote howls, elk screeches, or maybe a loud muffler that passes quickly. The proposed 92.5 Operational Performance Standard Amendment P Noise Section 92.5.1 would drastically change that. In June, the proposed standard set the noise standard at 55 decibels at night and 65 during the day. Now, the same standard that was posted last week is proposed at 75 decibels at the property line next to residential, 24/7, 365 days a year. The decibel scale is logarithmic, meaning for every 10 decibel increase in sound, the human ear perceives that sound to double, or sound twice as loud. So under the new standard, going from 55 decibels to 75 at night, the sound could be 4 times louder than the June standard, or 8 to 16 times louder than the ambient noise in rural residential agricultural zoned areas. 4 times louder sounds like this. I'm not sure that was pleasant for anyone. And that is only 4 times louder, not potentially 8 to 16 times louder than our current ambient noise levels in most of the county. Another change since June is in 92.5.3 Smoke and Visible Emissions section. Since June, the smoke and emissions standard has doubled the operational opacity from 20% during normal operation to 40%, and from 40% opacity at startup to 60%. This paper is opaque, so it's about 100%, or it is 100% opacity. Clear glass would have almost 0% opacity because you can see through it. I ask you, would you rather breathe in air that is clear as glass or air that obscures 40 to 60% of your vision? The above standards are unreasonable, yet the county planning staff is recommending them. As a result of the unreasonableness of the 2 examples I just listed, many in Stokes County do not have confidence in the operational standards before you today. Wastewater treatment, disposal, vibration, light, particulate matter, and heat, among others, in Amendment P. Asking Stokes County citizens to accept standards copied from other counties that may or may not have been developed by experts is unreasonable. Not including operational standards for water usage or for chemicals allowed to treat the water in a closed-loop system, or for infrasound, which we don't feel but hear, or renewable energy or archaeological site protection, among others, is unreasonable. I've got about 3 more sentences. Across Stokes County, citizens do not want hyperscale data centers. They certainly do not want them without protective, expertly developed operational standards. We live in a republic where your power comes from the consent of the governed. And many in this community do not consent to this type of development or the speed of it. Both are unreasonable. What is the hurry? slow the process down. Put a moratorium in place until the protective standards can be researched and developed by experts. Other rural counties are doing this all around us. Deny NP&R tonight and place a moratorium. Thank you.
Rock Griffin.
I won't have time to do all of this, but I'll,
Is this about the amendments?
yes.
Okay.
Originally, I was going to talk about data centers, but since the amendments are here, I have 50 years in IT and IT management, IT design, including lots of data centers. I also have a lot of consulting experience as a partner with what is now PwC, and I've been doing this a long time. So I hope you take that into consideration when I talk about this, what we've got going on, and you can read the paper some other time because that's more about data centers. But I can remember about 6 years ago when COVID came out, and we had the experts, Fauci and WHO and everybody else saying, here's what you got to do. Yes, it's serious. Yes, we got to do this. And they screwed up and screwed around with all of the data. You had the news putting the death count up. Of course, they lost the death count on flu or anything else, and they had classified that if you got in a wreck with your motorcycle and happened to have COVID at the same time, it was a COVID death. Okay? Do not pay attention to what is going on with the developers. I've been associated with enough developments by these people, not specifically these, but over my tenure, where I remember one of them who was doing a project for us at Kennedy Space Center said, I said, no, you can't do that. And he said, where there's a buck, there's a way. Okay? And I'm not interested in where there's a buck, there's a way. So the amendments open the door as I see them, and I won't go into great details. If any of you want to have a specific meeting on this, I'd be happy to do that, but I'll take too much time if I do it here. These amendments open the door for people to navigate around what's going on. So to the statement, will we have time to do something like this? Well, if you change what the zoning is, you're already halfway lost. And so I urge you to reject all of these zoning ideas, and that becomes a moratorium in itself in some ways. And you've got to do some things to get out there. We have gone through all of this COVID stuff, and my objection to COVID 6 years ago, the vaccine hadn't been tested, there wasn't documentation, what was there didn't seem complete, over and over and over again. And that's the same thing we're going to see on zoning regulations and everything else. It all gets worded the right way. I remember one boss at the consulting firm who said, never confuse the sale with the install. Okay? They will find a way to get into things, and if you open up ideas in the zoning, they will find a way to get past it. Is that my time? So, thank you very much.
Carla Pack.
Oh, I have copies of the my talk if anybody wanted.
Carla Pack.
I was going to talk about the data center, so I'm going to...
Would you like me to save your name for public comments next period? Okay, thank you.
Everybody put in wonderful jobs in the
Ann Harvey David, I know you spoke earlier. Did you?
I spoke earlier and asked that those comments just be incorporated
That,
into this record.
that can be done. Chad Bailey.
Good
evening. I am not Chad Bailey. Chad was hoping.
Sorry.
Most people know Chad, so I'm definitely not Chad. But he was hoping to be here tonight, but he wasn't able to get off of work and asked me to read this statement. My name is Chad Bailey, and I live in Baileytown on Baileytown Church Road in Walnut Cove. I'm here tonight about the proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance, Amendment R, that would define data center for the first time and allow data centers as a conditional use. This matters to me personally because my property sits right next to the site where Project Delta, a massive data center many times larger than any currently operating in North Carolina, is expected to be proposed. Amendment R would open the door to that project and others like it, but it does not include the actual standards that would protect people like me and my neighbors. No limits appropriate for data centers on noise, no required setbacks from homes, churches, and cemeteries, nothing addressing water use or generators. It opens the door before the county has decided what will be required to walk through it. My family, the Baileys and the Hairstons, have been on this land since the time of slavery. My several great-grandparents on the Bailey side were given the land I live on when they were freed, and my family has lived there ever since. We built homes here. We farmed, fished, and hunted. We built a church here. Right up the road is a cemetery with 185 of my family members buried in it. I'm the vice president of the Stokes County Historical Society, and I'm my family's historian. My connection to this land isn't something abstract to me. It's my life and my home. This ground carries more history than just my family's. This is Sora land. The name is on our maps, our mountains, our history books. Our collective history and the sacred ground belong to all of Stokes County. But as written, Amendment R does not require a developer to identify what historic, cultural, or sacred sites sit on a property before the county allows a data center there as a conditional use. That means a massive proposal like Project Delta could move forward without the board ever knowing what's on that site or what would be lost once it's covered in concrete and put behind a fence. You can't make an informed decision without giving archaeologists and historians that time to study this ground and be heard. Once it's disturbed, that chance is gone for good, and the Sora name becomes nothing more than a memory of what used to be here. I also drive a truck for a living. My days are long, and I depend on real rest to do my job safely. I'm asking you to think about what a facility of this size, operating around the clock, would mean for people trying to sleep next door to it. My ask tonight is simple. Put a temporary moratorium on data center development in place so the county has time to study these impacts and put real enforceable standards specific to data centers in the ordinance before adding them to the zoning ordinance. Please take this time to get it right. Thank you.
Good job, Chad.
Kay Ritchie.
I'm Kay Ritchie. I live just up the road at 1065 Ernest Nelson Road. I've been here 40 years after moving up from Winston-Salem, where I grew up, to farm and homestead in the country. Raised my son there, who went through Stokes County schools in the UNC system, and then to Florida State, where he earned the PhD in pure mathematics. He uses that PhD as a research assistant in the University of Houston, where he collects data. His home office, very small room, is basically a data center. So I understand it on that micro level. He collects data from physicians, primarily at Johns Hopkins, working on research on cardiac issues. Now, the issue I have with Amendment R is the definition of data center. While it excludes those whose business is not just the collection of data, that is a gray area. It also does not make distinctions between a data center, a hyperscale data center, or a complex of multiple hyperscale data centers. There need to be different definitions because the situations are different and what is required is different. If there are multiple hyperscale data centers, are they separate businesses? We talked about each business needing to meet the standards, or is it one business? There are many questions there. I think you need to take time and consider them all. Thank you.
Goldbach.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Victoria Goldbach. I live at 1040 Vicky Lane in King. I grew up in Stokes County and I've lived here most of my life. I've never stood up here in front of y'all to speak, but this topic was too important for me to sit on the sidelines. So I'm a little nervous, if you'll bear with me. I'm here tonight to speak against Amendment P, specifically the sections pertaining to noise, vibration, and glare. How many of y'all have pets or farm animals? Please raise your hand. I have 2 dogs, an 8-year-old German Shepherd mix and a 2-year-old hound. Their well-being is completely and totally dependent on me and the safe environment that I provide them. Did you know that dogs can hear ultrasonic frequencies up to 45,000 hertz and as low as 40? Cats can hear up to 64,000 hertz and as low as 45. Infrasound ends at about 20. The ceaseless hum of a hyperscale data center can induce noise aversion in pets and could cause constant agitation, excessive panting and trembling, or the constant need for them to want to hide. Project Delta could require intense all-night security lighting that can disrupt natural circadian rhythms for humans, pets, and wildlife. Indoor and outdoor pets and farm animals, wildlife, and humans subjected to this constant light pollution may suffer from fragmented sleep, altering natural melatonin production. Shouldn't have to tell y'all the behavioral effects of compounded lack of sleep, not just on us, but on our pets and the farm animals, not to mention the wildlife that call this county their home also. The massive energy demands of these hyperscale data centers can also cause major power grid congestion. If rolling blackouts or any disruption of electricity to our homes caused by these data centers happens, that means we could be without power in the middle of our sweltering summers. I don't know about y'all's dogs, but mine get pretty hot being in this heat for more than 10 minutes. My cool house is their reprieve. Tri is also currently under a severe drought. WXI is reporting Forsyth is under voluntary water conservation right now. Stokes could be next. How much worse would this drought be if this massive data center was in our county? How many of y'all enjoy flowers in your landscape and around your home? Did you know that bees could be fatally affected by the noise pollution that Project Delta could emit? The sound frequencies and DMF radiation can drastically interfere with their navigation, their ability to adapt, and their foraging abilities. I shouldn't have to say this, but if the bees can't pollinate properly and efficiently, there goes our food supply. Bees are responsible for pollinating roughly 1/3 of the human diet. Without them, many of our most nutritious and economically vital crops, such as apples, blueberries, almonds, and sweet potato seedlings, could severely decline or fail altogether. They also contribute significantly to the food our Stokes farmers feed their livestock. If farmers can't feed their livestock, what happens to the meat we eat? I'm asking the Planning Board to recommend denying Amendments D, P, and R. I was also asking for a moratorium so that we can have more time in this county to do more research so that y'all can better understand what Project Delta actually means for us, the residents of Stokes County. Other local rural counties, Surrey and Davie, have approved a moratorium. We're asking that y'all show us the same courtesy. Please consider the standards that protect this county and its residents now and for generations to come. Thank you so much.
Y'all please excuse me. I'm sorry, I have a medical condition and I have to use the restroom more so than a lot of other people. I'm not trying to ignore anyone. I just want everybody to know why I'm exiting the room and coming back. And I appreciate you saying so much. Thank you.
Martha Hartley.
Good evening. My name is Martha Hartley. I live at 1100 Buckmeadow Lane in King. The proposed text amendments are generated on behalf of the proposed data center. Now is the time to hit the pause button on any considerations regarding data centers, including D, N, P, and R amendments. There are too many unknowns right now to move forward on these text amendments. Data center projects deliberately target rural communities for their locations. Do they think we are stupid and ignorant to their danger and uncertainty because they promise huge tax money? Our water, air, and health are not for sale. They are our life. Data centers do not fit Stokes County. Over and over since last fall when we learned the news, we the people of Stokes County continue to say no to data centers. Please hear us, your constituents. Thank you.
Mo Hartley.
My name is Michael Lowe Hartley. Most people know me as Mo Hartley. And I want to talk to you about boilerplate. I attended an information meeting with a developer who wants to develop 1,840 some acres in Stokes County up against the Dan River. That fellow is asking for, what is the new zoning, M2EC, is that correct? ED? CD, thank you. It's difficult to get these things straight. However, we have a plan, a Stokes County plan, which was set in place under a study in 2015, I believe, and it's a 2035 plan, which tells us something about zoning. And I believe this area that this fellow wanted to develop is zoned rural agricultural. And I asked him, what are you going to do about the bottom? He said, well, because the reason I asked him this was because there is a significant Indian site, Upper Saratown, down in that bottom. Plus, it's part of the Harrison plantation and the Harston enslaved people's history. He said, don't worry about it. I'm going to put restrictions on that bottom land that will protect it in perpetuity. How is that? Well, I'll just do whatever you all want, but it will be protected in perpetuity. And as this gentleman said, I thought, right, where there's a buck, there's a way. And what this man is talking about is international wealth and power setting up in Stokes County. And when that happens on what is in effect 18,400 some acres, there will be no zoning regulation that will prevent any kind of motion that power wants to impose on that acreage. It will be. Then another question came, what's going to happen when during construction, if you get this permission up on the ridge? And this developer said, oh, we'll take care of that. If we run into something up on the ridge while we're under construction, we'll just halt everything and we'll call in the state and they'll come and take care of it. BS. Oh, I'm sorry, I used the wrong boilerplate. Boilerplate. This is an absolutely incomplete proposal. And they're coming before you with the offer of millions of dollars in taxes and say, here, hand over this land for us to do what we want to do. And I thought, all right, so if you want to do that, first you need to know what you're doing. You need to know what you are doing. We've been told in the previous presentation of this thing that the Stokes County people were outside agitators. I'm not an outside agitator. I live on acreage in Stokes County, and I've been here quite a while. You need to do better. Some of you already know this. Some of you don't.
Wrap it up, please.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Sandy Novak. Sandy Novak.
I really didn't think I'd get to speak tonight. And I'm going to pass these out because I have information that I will not get through all of. But I want to start with this. We have just celebrated our 250th anniversary of America. And it starts out this way. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are empowered by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I want to read a statement. This is found on Cowgirl. Listen to this. Montana's Yellowstone country holds a magic that only those who have truly lived it can understand. For country music artist Stephanie Quayle, it's more than just a beautiful destination. It's home. Born and raised in Bozeman, Montana, Stephanie grew up surrounded by spellbinding landscapes and vibrant communities that make Yellowstone country so unique. Her connection to the pristine mountains, lush valleys, and small town charm is lifelong. Stephanie's love for Yellowstone country goes beyond appreciation. It's about stewardship. She's committed to keeping Montana as incredible as it was when she was growing up. By following the Recreate Responsibility guidelines, Stephanie ensures that every adventure leaves Montana just as beautiful for the next person to enjoy. Whether it's hiking a familiar trail or visiting her favorite local spots, she believes in protecting the land that has given so much to her. And she encourages everyone who loves Montana to do the same, because that's the Montana way. Stephanie Quayle is David Couch's wife. That's her opinion of her hometown area, and I agree totally with her. She loves her place of birth, her place of growing up, and she has a plan. Recreate Responsibility guidelines. We have a plan here. We have a 2035 plan that cannot be ignored. And I want to say, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. If this is good for Stephanie Quayle, what we have here is good for us. And we want to encourage you to love Walnut Cove the same way that she loves her place where she grew up and where she plans to protect it. I want to continue. We are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Justice is a big word. In this phrase, we say the pledge every time we have a meeting here. Do we just go over those words? Do they mean nothing to us? We are one. It says there, one. We are a nation. That's still one. And we're indivisible. That means we're not divided. We are all in this together. We are one nation. We are one group under God. I want to say this. I have much to say.
I'm going to have to stop you. Your time's up, and we got several speakers, and we're running.
Okay, let me conclude.
Okay.
Ronald Reagan, in his 1981 inaugural speech on economic burdens, said this, quote, "All of us together, in and out of government, must bear the burden. The solutions we seek must be equitable, with no one group singled out to pay a higher price." You cannot single out one group in this county to pay a higher price We are in this together. We are one. We are one as a community. And Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Please read my paper.
I will.
Lou Novak. Lou Novak.
Please, when you come up, if it's not about the amendments, we need to move on. Because this is not public comments, public hearing about the amendments.
Evening. I am addressing some of the standards and my comments on them. We as a family came here 23 years ago, and I know I've talked about before, but we came here because of the quietness and how beautiful this county is, and especially Walnut Cove. We've been there 23 years and put a lot of work into our land. And I want to comment a little bit about our codes. You know, our codes are here to protect our property values, to preserve our rural character in our towns, and most importantly, our health. However, our current M2 heavy manufacturing standards are too vague, not sufficient to protect our county's people from the proposed data center. Let's be clear. We're not talking about a data center like we see on Silas Creek. It's been for many years. No, the proposed project is hyperscale size complex, 15 buildings, 8 million square feet. This like comparing 7-Eleven to Walmart. To put it into perspective, Project Delta would be bigger than 5 Haynes malls. Ordinance 9253, which I want to speak a little bit about, talking about emissions, they should be 60% clear, except for brief moments of startup, etc. This is grossly inadequate, in my opinion, to measure the amount of pollution that up to 200 gas turbines are creating in surrounding communities along the Cove. We already have the pollution from Lewis Creek steam station to deal with. We need to step back, take a look at the language used in our ordinances. Is it sufficient to protect our community from hyperscale data centers? I think not. We are talking about respiratory illnesses, and we've already talked about this over and over again. We already got to deal with Blues Creek. We heard about all the cancers and things that came from that before the scrubbers were finally put in. What guarantee do we know that this is not going to do the same thing or worse? At the last presentation, Mr. Nations told us that the complex require an undetermined number of portable gas turbine generators and for an undetermined amount of time. This is vague speech by design. How do we know if diesel generators will be substituted? As you know, it's hard to get gas generators, and diesel will be way, way worse. And think of all the trucks that be on the road hauling diesel to those generators. Speaking of energy, did you know that July 2nd this year, during the recent heat wave, that our largest regional power grid, PJM, powering 13 states, told data centers to prepare to unplug from the grid and prepare energy generators or prepare their emergency generators for fear of losing the whole grid. And Mr. Nation says that, well, you know, we might be on portable generators for a short time, but then we'll go on the grid. What guarantee do we have that he's ever going to go on the grid? Mr. Tim May said that they've shut down a boiler plant and a steam plant in Charlotte. We are not going to get this thing on the grid. And that means that we have to breathe those toxic gases for years. And our ordinances are not sufficient to protect us. I just want to say the last sentence if I could. Let's slow down, take a moratorium, which we've already, again, we're disappointed. We were hoping that you guys would take more time to consider. To propose let's take a moratorium on the proposal, this hyperscale data center, to do studies, take a look at the language and our standards, and make sure they protect us, and they do not. We must have the help and input from our community. That's one thing I really respect about the 2035 plan. It got the community really involved, and it was done right. They took their time, and they did it right. Thank you.
I actually don't know the next name that's written on the list, and there's no identifying information. It might start with a D.
David Wellen? No.
I'm gonna go ahead.
I don't know.
Yeah. After that is Teddy. Is there a Teddy?
Would you like me to check upstairs in the overflow room?
Tori's up there with a.
Oh, he can hear.
I think so. Now unless these were very late additions, I'll give him a second just on the off chance. But Tori has some kind of list. Okay, I hear someone coming. Tori said no one here. Caroline.
I think Caroline's upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah, she's here.
And then our last speaker will be you, sir. Can you spell your last name for me?
Bowman, Bougman. And may I set this on the desk or somewhere?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Give me just a second.
Just once, there's one more speaker ahead of you, hon.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Thank you.
Just giving her a second to get down here.
Hello, I'm sorry, my name wasn't on the list upstairs, so I didn't anticipate coming down. My name is Caroline Armijo. I live at 1119 Hill Street in Greensboro. I work at Rutledge and Rutledge, 235 North Main in Walnut Cove. My ancestors walked down on the Great Wagon Road and settled in this area in the 1740s. I'm very passionate about the land. And I grew up spending my summers in Walnut Cove, and I was always very sick because of the coal ash. And when I moved away, I was fine. When I went to Chapel Hill, I outgrew all of my allergies. And that led me to advocating for this community beginning in 2010. And a lot of those people are no longer here. So I'm very concerned about the text amendments and how they have set a standard for the very worst quality of life instead of the very best. Duke Energy, when they build things, they build it for the very best. It has been speculated and that the CEO, Duke Energy recruited people to come here because of the power plant to justify the nuclear plant. And I just want to reiterate that Walnut Cove has the very best wetland system, it has the very best power plant, it has the very best people, has a wonderful, flourishing downtown. And this last week, the planning committee went to Maiden, which saw a really great standard data center that does not have the highest level of decibels, of 75 decibels. I don't know what their standards are, but y'all have access to that. And if you pass these text amendments tonight, you cannot go back and change them. This is it. This is it. It changes the quality of life for the people in the community forever. You are giving away the land that is larger than the town. Sonia, your grandchildren will be living in that town. Your son-in-law preaches in that town. You are ruining their quality of life. Who wants to go to church and hear a roar while they pray? So I'm sorry that I'm,
you know, a lot of that was because I ran downstairs. But I ask you to please not pass these text amendments, because you need to really make sure that it is okay for the citizens of Walnut Cove to go deaf for an estimate of $40 million that was just made up based on previous tax revenue that no longer qualifies because of House Bill 56 that diverts the tax money from the local government to the state. So you are giving away the most beautiful land. Peter Harston was the largest slave owner. This is his land. He didn't pick a shabby place to live. This is our best asset in our county. And I just pray that you take this seriously. I'm not saying never have a data center, but if you're going to have a data center, have the very best, because we deserve that. Thank you.
Michael Bowman.
Thank you so much.
Sir, is this about the amendments?
What did you say, sir?
Is this about the amendments?
Yes, absolutely it is.
Okay.
It's about the zoning amendment.
Okay.
May I set this here, please? Thank you. And could you pass this around to different commissioners? Good afternoon. I stand before you today as a Lumbee tribal member and a former employee of David Couch, who refuses to let the deep history of this land be erased by a corporate facade. This is about the zoning. We are told to look at the zoning and the local players to blame the landowner or listen to the aggressive rhetoric of his attorney, Tom Terrell. But anyone who understands the landscape of high finance knows that these names are just the outward layers of a highly coordinated global syndicate. Let us be completely precise about the hierarchy of power here tonight. David Couch is not the structural mastermind behind this heavy industrial macrogrid. David Couch is simply the local landowner whose name happens to be on the deed. The facility being pushed onto Stokes County is not a local development. This is a center from the Rothschilds family. Look at who is actually dictating the terms. Tom Terrell is not standing up here carrying his own personal ideas or protecting a simple local family business. He is a partner and the co-chair of Fox Rothschilds LLP. In the world of systemic, high-level structural analysis, elite interests do not hide their footprints by putting their family name directly onto the local county deeds. They deploy power through institutional cutouts, layered global law firms, and private equity fronts. When a mega firm bearing the Rothschilds architecture is brought in to steer a 1,800 plus acres industrial land capture, it provides the exact legal firewall and structural mechanism used by global banking networks. My name is Micah Bowman. Again, I am a member of the Lumbee Tribe of North Carolina. Today I brought some amazing things here to show you. If the zoning is not fixed, artifacts such as these that are brought today will be permanently destroyed. These are from my ancestors. This is from the site where they came from right before they came here to Stokes County. My ancestors, the Sherall. I gave David Couch a plan. I gave his attorney a plan. I gave these commissioners a plan, a compromise. I spoke to his attorney on the phone the other day, actually. When I spoke to him, he said he might not have plans for this floodplain now, but he might in the future. Covering artifacts such as these in cement forever. I used to work with David Couch. He's a very nice guy. But I have to tell you that this plan that I offered would benefit David Couch and it would benefit Stokes County for tourism. It would generate David Couch money, so everybody could be happy. I gave David Couch this plan by separating at least these 6 acres, you know, where this archaeological site is and such this wonder of the environment is in Stokes County. If that would be separated, it would be a miracle. And I'm asking, for the sake of my tribe, the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina, several other Indian nations, and this is for the sake of zoning, I would like this to be considered, and I would like you all to please be considerate of my heritage and the heritage of others when you are considering the zoning of this area. And do not let both your history and my history be destroyed forever. Thank you.
That was our final speaker.
Thank you. Discussion on the ordinance.
I've got a couple questions about it. Brian and Avery, whoever can answer this. When we were talking about the standards that are proposed in this, about the noise, the 75 dB, is it my understanding, is this correct, that when we do conditional zoning, we can require a lower number than 75?
Yes, that's correct.
So this is more of a general thing.
That's a floor.
Each thing that comes before us that would be considered, whether it be a data center or a timber mill or anything, conditional zoning can supersede these standards.
Yes, that's correct.
Ready to approve the amendments myself. I'll do a motion.
We have
to move to action. If you want to, whatever, any motion that gets made on the amendments needs to be moved to action for tonight.
How about we move to action would be my request.
That's fine.
You're free to discuss them.
I mean, if there's no other discussion or questions.
There won't be a consensus because I won't agree to a consensus.
I won't either. I don't have a full understanding of the amendments, and I'm not going to vote on something that I'm not 100% sure on. So. I just have several more questions, and right now is not the time to ask them.
What would you like to do?
It's the right time to ask them. This is the public hearing on the text amendments.
I mean, it's been moved to action. If you want to vote, that's fine, but I will not vote for it.
Wow.
Can I make a comment?
So, at what point then? At what point do we start talking about? I mean, does anybody have an idea what the noise level? We want the noise level to be? I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't know. I mean,
please, I understand, please.
Can I say something?
Hold up.
All I've heard, I've lived in this county a long time, 75 years if I make it to August the 6th. I have, because of this subject here and y'all's group, on Facebook, I've had to turn in reports to Joey Lemons on threats of my life and family because I voted for this. Now, have y'all life been threatened? So,
Move up to the microphone so we can hear you.
We're not making those threats.
Yeah, we're trying to
not taking this lightly.
We're fighting for our lives. Yes. Right. I lived on 7th Street 66
Okay,
years.
please.
Well, I signed up to speak and I got ignored.
Please,
So.
it's gonna get out of hand now, please. Please.
That's why we need to get this over with.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request a vote on moving this to action tonight.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. That moves us to 25, 27, pay and benefits by Jamie Clark.
It's okay, Jim.
Ready?
Okay.
We're good. Okay, so what we have is the,
Please.
Can I request quiet, please, from the crowd? We have another item.
You got more now.
Yeah.
all right, so we have the newly revised pay and benefits plan put before you. That includes this year's salary study. The counties included in the salary study this year were Surrey, Yadkin, Davie, Wilkes, Lee, Person, and Rockingham. And of those, like I said, we studied the general scale. We looked at each position and to see where those positions fell in comparison to the average of the labor market. And that's how we determined which positions we felt like needed adjustment for this year. And then the manager's office and I sat down, made our recommendations based off of the scope of the duties of each of those positions, and trying to think, we looked at internal equity, we looked at a lot of other things, and like I said, each position in the general classification scale was looked at. We did feel the need to add a few more pay grades into that scale because to begin with we had 14, and we felt like that wasn't a very broad scope for the positions that we had. We had so many positions with different responsibility levels, different supervisory levels. This created more of a ladder, so to say, to separate some of those positions that are closely related but not didn't need to be on the exact same pay scale, we felt. And what we have before y'all is the we redlined everything that was there and everything that's been changed.
Are we taking care of any compression pay in regards to the salary study, or?
No, but if you do approve these changes, what will happen is everybody that is affected because their pay range has been changed will be moved up to the same place in the new grade that they were in the previous grade. So it doesn't fix that residual compression problem.
So will it still be possible then if, say, someone in an entry-level position, let's say they've been a year here, and then with the new pay scale, the new minimum pay range begins, will the new person that's hired tomorrow be making the same thing as what?
No, and I say that because, as I said before, let's say an employee moves up from a scale position 5 to the new 6. The percent that their pay was above the minimum in 5 will be the same as their percent above the minimum in 6 after the change.
I think to clarify, Brad, like how we had done salary studies in the past, we would move everybody to the new minimum of that pay grade. No, we're not doing that. Like Jeff is saying, we're taking the same relative difference that they are now on their current grade and moving them that exact same percentage above the new pay grade.
So maybe a better way to answer your original question is we're not solving the residual compression problem, but we're not causing more.
Yeah, that was mine. main question. We don't need to increase what we've already incurred. So, thank you. Not really, but I need more time to look at this before I vote on it. I started looking at it, but
Please, please, please.
we had a lot of stuff to look at all this weekend.
Oh.
New stuff all at once.
I get
2
it.
days.
I'll be ready at the next meeting to and then vote on it.
I mean, I do have some questions, and like Rick said, you know, I've been having some contact from employees that are asking questions that make me think that we need to consider how this is going to affect everybody and with the pay. And I think if we could move it to action at the next meeting and give us more time to look at all these changes that are being recommended, that would be helpful.
We'll see to move to action next week.
I mean, do we want to go through each part of this that's been redlined and let Jamie explain it, or do we want to do that next meeting, or is it pretty, you know, self-explanatory? You know, she explained it, so I'm sure that you can see the minimums, the midpoints, the maximums. They're all here.
I think we'll move to the next meeting. That'll give us time to have all our questions together.
Yeah, there's
We
some
can
things
go
I
over.
want to find out about.
And then no matter, just because we're not doing it tonight, I mean, the back pay will still be in effect if we do, whatever we do approve, right?
That's right.
I don't want to harm the, you know, the employees, but I figure that's what. One last minor request, maybe if Olivia, if you'd print us a hard copy of Jamie's thing that was in the agenda. We'll use it the next meeting.
Well, that'd be great.
I appreciate the hard work, though. I know it's not easy, you and your staff, and did a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I'm up here for the next line item too.
By the way, it does save us money too, because a lot of places they contract out for salary studies.
Yeah. Really common.
Is everybody good on that one?
Yes.
So that moves us to item B, the updated personnel policy handbook. That's you again.
That's me too. Like I said, we redlined this one as well. There was not that many changes at all. We added just a couple of, I think, personal, like conduct, things regarding conduct. And I don't know if y'all had time to go through the whole handbook either or not, so.
Pretty lengthy document.
It is. So if you want to
Yeah.
move that one to another meeting, we can do that as well.
Okay. Everybody consensus of that, let's move to the next meeting.
Jamie, I would like to talk more and before we approve this, have some more information about adding a possible maternity leave policy. I think our employees now use FMLA, but I'd like to see what that would look like. Maybe look at some of those other counties you mentioned and see how they handle that. For parental leave, for the father, mother, that kind of thing, and just see and maybe some cost estimates as well with that, because I've been asked a lot about that.
Before you approve this?
I think we could approve this, and that would probably require something budgetary for next budget.
Okay.
So, but I'm just saying, while we're looking at it, I would like to see some of that, but that wouldn't preclude me from approving this at the next meeting.
Okay. We're good?
Good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
All right.
Thank you, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
That moves us to the action agenda. Appointee to the SciTech Community College Board of Trustees.
So at the last meeting, Dr. Jared Jones was nominated to serve on the Forsyth Technical Community College Board of Trustees. So we can poll the board for his appointment. I have not heard of any other interest at this time.
Dr. Jones.
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 Okay. The next item is the Tourism Development Authority appointment. At the last meeting, Rebecca Gibson was nominated for the TDA. We have not received any other applications, so if you would like to.
Gibson.
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 Thank you. The next item is the Voluntary Agricultural Board appointments. At the last meeting, there were 2 nominations, Sherry Smith and Cheryl Knight. They were both nominated to the VAD, so we can poll for Smith and Knight.
Smith and Knight.
Smith Knight. Smith and Knight.
Smith and Knight.
Smith and Knight.
Thank you. Next item is, just for clarification's sake, the data center moratorium. It needs to be done on action, just for clarity's sake.
I make my same motion again that we reject the planning board recommendation to do a moratorium on data center development.
I will second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay. Nay.
And then the text amendments.
Can I clarify one thing before we vote on that? Going back to what Brian was saying, that I think he pretty much explained that our current language is not legal and it is not consistent. And in my opinion, that is what these text amendments do. It doesn't approve anything. It doesn't make it easier for anybody. It's just that you have to have these things in place. And right now, our current ordinances are not doing the job. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's 100% correct for Amendment D. There's no legal requirement for NPR. However, they provide greater protection than our ordinance currently provides now.
Because there's no enforceable standards currently in place.
That's correct.
So what this does is set more site-specific standards so that people can't just go putting data centers, sawmills, whatever they want, just wherever they want.
That's correct.
So it protects us from that. So I'm just trying to clarify that. Thank you.
Yes.
I have a motion if anybody else is.
So that. Never mind, go ahead. You made a second.
No,
he has to read it.
He's gonna read it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion, and my motion excludes Amendment A as we discussed, I think Olivia brought up earlier. I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt the statement of plan consistency required by North Carolina General Statute 160D-605A and the statement of reasonableness set out above applicable to proposed text amendments D, N, P, and R are presented as presented or as amended by the board. I further move that the Board of Commissioners adopt text amendment D, revising zoning ordinance 132.5 to implement the two-step plan consistency and reasonableness framework required by North Carolina General Statute 160-D-604, Section D, and 160D-605, notwithstanding the Planning Board's recommendation of denial for the reasons set out in the staff report and the consistency statement adopted above. I further move that the Board of Commissioners adopt a text amendment N,
revising zoning ordinance 92.2, condition 5, to replace the current standard list screening requirement with objective mining and quarrying standards as presented, notwithstanding the planning board's recommendation of a countywide moratorium in lieu of individual action. I further move that the Board of Commissioners adopt text amendment P, revising zoning ordinance 92 to replace aspirational and subjective catch-all language with objective M-2 performance standards as presented, notwithstanding the planning board's recommendation of a countywide moratorium in lieu of individual action. I further move that the Board of Commissioners adopt text amendment R, adding a definition of data center and classifying the use as a conditional use in the M-2 CZ use table under 92.2 as presented, notwithstanding the planning board's recommendation of a countywide moratorium in lieu of individual action. That's my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, before we move any further, the plan consistency statement needs to be read, and the reasonableness statement needs to be read. One of the board members can do it, or I'm happy to do it either way.
Why don't you do that?
Okay. Plan consistency statement. Pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 160D 605A, the board has considered the Stokes County Comprehensive Land Use Plan, the Planning Board's July 9, 2026 recommendation, including its advisory inconsistency finding as to Amendment D, and the staff report, and finds that Amendment D, N, P, and R are each consistent with the comprehensive plan. As to Amendment D specifically, the board respectfully disagrees with the planning board's advisory inconsistency finding. Amendment D changes only the procedural consequences of a plan inconsistency finding and does not repeal, weaken, or supersede any comprehensive plan, goal, or policy. Reasonableness statement. Pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 160D 605B, and in the exercise of the board's discretion to adopt this statement for text amendments, though not statutorily required to do so, the board finds that adoption of amendments D, N, P, and R is reasonable and in the public's interest, considering the size and character of the affected M2 and M2 CZ districts, the benefits to landowners, neighbors, and the surrounding community from clear and enforceable standards, the absence of any expansion of permitted development, the public interest in a legally defensible ordinance, and the changed conditions, including growing data center development interest, and the Fraser decision that warrant these amendments at this time.
Okay, this time what Rick had presented and what Brian presented, I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay. Motion passes. That takes us, please, that takes us to closed session.
We'll be going into closed session for the following rationales: to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or, excuse me, I'm speaking. To discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body, including agreement on a tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered by the public body in negotiations with privilege, is hereby acknowledged pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A4, and to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3. We are now in closed session.
I need to ask everyone to please exit the room. Have a motion, we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We gotta see if anybody wants to come in here like
I
that.
don't know if there's anyone in here,
Ah.
but
You need to make sure the building is empty tonight. Remember last time after our meeting, they turned over chairs, somebody was in here, messed up some stuff.
You got cameras?
Not inside that man.
oh, not inside. Well, not like in maybe.
Maybe we need to invest in a better camera system, outside and inside.
This is that 3 years ago.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Have a second.
Wait,
Oh, there was something we want to talk
been
about.
on.
The groundbreaking.
oh, okay, sorry.
For the
We
courthouse.
canceled the
Back
groundbreaking
open
today.
session. We're in open
We're in
session.
open
We're in
session
open,
now.
yeah.
You're on camera.
It's kind of a moot point now because we've already started work, but do you want to do a groundbreaking? And if so, when can everybody be available?
I've changed my mind. Everybody's so busy.
Yeah.
I mean, let's
maybe let the public request it or something. I'll just let it go.
Yeah.
Why don't, instead of a groundbreaking, why don't we schedule a grand opening?
Like a ribbon cutting.
Yeah,
Or
ribbon
ribbon
cutting.
cutting
Yeah.
when it completes.
Good idea.
I'll
Good suggestion.
invite everybody back.
Yeah. Bring your cats and dogs.
There you go.
Adopt a cat or dog.
Children. I make a motion, we adjourn.
second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you all.